Hey everybody, my name is Brian. I'm 26 and I'm here to have a very raw conversation about friends in your 20s. And I want to focus this away from making friends and more so talk about friendship and the idea of friends and having friends in general in your mid 20s. And to fast forward to the first topic or away from the first topic, it's extremely hard to make friends in your 20s. I've made countless videos on this. If you're somewhere in your 20s, you probably understand this. Unless you've had friends before, or you're an unbelievably social person, or you're involved in some kind of social group or socially oriented group like a church, some religion, some social club, or some hobby group, very hard to make friends in your 20s. But that aside, I'm going to talk about, let's pretend that we have friends. And that's where I'm going to start talking. For reference, I'm an extreme extrovert. I've had countless friends, not as a brag, not as a weird flex, but more so that's just how I operate. And people that know me probably know that one, there's a lot of people that I hang out with. I've always hung out with a wider variety of people, which gets me to have higher count of friends, but perhaps not the depth that people want. So I'm not going to touch on making friends. Making new sustainable friends in your 20s is hard, almost impossible, because there's no unifying experience like school or walking into hallways or having the same class or group projects. And work kind of provides that, but it's a little different because there's always that line that you don't want to cross as you're working. So if you don't have a social club, church, or whatever, very, very hard. For more background for me, the types of people that I spend most time with probably is my girlfriend at the top, then church friends, then New York / school friends, then back home friends in California every now and then when I go back. And then my family kind of in that parallel where spend a lot of time with them, but not like on the daily cadence, call my mom sometimes kind of thing. So wide group of people. And then I have a bunch of online friends that I meet through work. So that's kind of my layered in 23 to 24, 2024 version of where my friend social circle lies. Other than a handful of friends that stick with you a very long time, or if you've been born, raised, and grown, work, school, everything in one neighborhood, unless you're in that exception of groups of people, if you're probably watching this, you're probably working in a New York City metropolitan-esque area, very hard to maintain friends. Away from making friends, maintaining friends also very hard. So if you're living in a city, and unless you got your entire friend group to move over here, or you went to NYU or something, just note that you're going to make new friends every now and then. Every week, you might be hanging out with a different group. And that's kind of the merit of being in a city, being a young professional, being in your 20s. If you don't enjoy that, sad. Especially if you move to cities. You know that you're going to have constantly new friend groups to hang out with, to really get into the zone. The Friends, like the TV show romantic version, doesn't really exist. I've rarely seen friend groups of that scale operate consistently week over week, day over day, hang out. I've had that in periods of my life, especially in New York, but it doesn't last. Secondly, reminder that family is always more important than friends. Harsh truth. Of course, the small exception of people that have very crappy families, friends are great too. But for most cases, if you have decently healthy families, family over friends. Families last. Family, there's a thing that binds you together, which is biology, and them having taken care of you. Siblings become a little tighter from what I've seen as they get older and become adult to adult, as opposed to slight age differences that might change life stages. Family over friends. Friends typically have their own families. So you're going to one day wake up, if you dedicate too much time to friends, at a point where all your friends have left for their families and you have not dedicated time to your family. So before it's too late, dedicate your time to family. I can't stress that enough. Secondly, friends are important, but also not that important. I think over time, you get to assess, especially in your 20s, what you really need friends for. I have friends who probably just need friends to simply fill time and hang out with, which isn't a bad thing. That sounds cruel and almost selfish, but it's just utility. If you need friends that join you at the bar or go eat together or play pickleball with, and that's your utility for friends, you could keep finding them in New York or wherever you live. If you need friends to have wild discussions with, or disagree with you, or agree with you, or affirm your beliefs, or get on a call with you to make you feel better, those conversation partners are your friends' motives. Also great. If you just need friends to support you and tell you that you're doing okay, but not necessarily spend time with you, or if you need friends to fill your wedding at the end of the day, or if you need friends to lend you money, stay away from me. Figuring out what you need friends for is very important. I think you, at your state of middle school, high school, college, which pretty big duration of your life. By the time you're 20, 60, 70% of your life, the perception of needing to hang out or being popular or whatnot, those things fade away. And by the time you're mid-20s, you want to make sure that those things aren't lingering and you have a wrong perception of what friends are for. That's the worst place to be. Don't be there. Figure out what the use case for friends are so that you can optimize for that and stop wasting time with people that don't fit in that mold. Again, that sounds cruel, that sounds selfish or whatever, but you got to figure out what you need friends for. Here's now the beauty of friends in the 20s. I think I talked very negatively about how you can't find friends, sustainable's hard, family were friends, don't think about friends too hard. Here's what makes friends in the 20s fun. One, age range diversification. As the life stage of being an adult is quite diverse, especially if you're in a city, you get to meet all sorts of people, ranging from 21 to 40, maybe sometimes even 50. Gets a little bit weird, make sure you don't get into the creepy zone, but getting into that wide age range dynamic, fascinating, because you get to project yourselves onto people younger than you, older than you, and similar to you, and say, whoa, like, was I like that at that age, and will I become like that at that age? And there's different levels of advice and feedback and different worldviews that you can get from having this wide diversity full set, which you couldn't really have during school because you were limited by the 5, 6, 3, 4-fold limitations of the schooling systems or whatever your parents found appropriate. The adulthood friendship, there's no age real limit, and there's actually people that get along better with older people, with younger people, with similar age people, and I think that reduction of barrier to entry and also judgment, phenomenal. I can't stress that enough. On the other hand, right back to the negatives, not really negatives, but reality, there's limitations, and what I mean by that is there's financial, geographical, and relationship status limitations that reduce or eliminate existing friends or limit the scope of your future friends. Financial meaning, you don't have to, all be billionaires to enjoy life, but there's definitely some level of friction if you make slightly less or significantly less than your friend group or your ex-friend group, and now you can't enjoy the same things anymore. Or you start being filtered down to similar types of people because you get to enjoy similar things. Of course, there are exceptions where super rich person and super not that rich person might both enjoy just reading or just hanging out or eating dollar slice pizza. Or the super rich person takes care of the not so rich person and it enjoys their company for what it is, and there's no insecurity behind who has less money. But nevertheless, over time, I've recognized that you kind of have to have that financial similarity for that friendship to keep going. Geographical, very important. At the end of the day, you can depend on the internet all you want, but your closest friends are going to be the ones that are physically closest to you. And I've recognized that more and more as I've moved around, that people in Chicago versus people in LA, people even in Queens versus Manhattan versus in New Jersey change as you get closer to them because it's more accessible to hang out with them. It's regardless very important. And then lastly, relationship status. As people date, of course, their ability to hang out differs depending on what their relationship looks like and what their relation point is, what their feeling of priorities are. And of course, it's easier to talk about things with people that are in similar boats as you or feeling the same level of pain if you're not really enjoying your relationship. And that, I think, gets down to further, not limitations, but things I've seen pattern-wise in your 20s. I've seen a lot of racial diversity limitations. I'm someone that grew up, I would say, relatively diverse, but even I think I'm converging into hanging out with more Koreans and Korean Americans as I get older. Outside my college friends who are majority Caucasian, I've seen a lot of friends who also have, not, I wouldn't call it diverted, but have come closer to their original roots of their culture. I don't think this is a mind-boggling result or conclusion. It's just what happens. I also see a lot of people not really risk-taking anymore in terms of worldviews and really converging into friend groups that share similar worldviews or very, very open-minded, genuinely for the definition of true open-minded folks that group together and are amplifying and okay with each other's differences. Props to those folks. I enjoy those folks a lot. Again, you need to understand what your friends want, what you want from friends, and then cater to that together. I like using this analogy of spending the first 18, 19, 20 years of your life trying to get as many wedding invites as possible. So being open to people and becoming the popular guy, which is cool. I understand why people go for it. And then using the next 5, 6 years to curate your own wedding list, the people that you want to invite. So the people that you actually enjoy spending time with. Quite bluntly, my true recommendation here in your 20s is to just double down on friends who live close, share values with you, or have a diverse array of values, and that becomes your tight-knit circle friend group that you can hang out a lot with and also talk amongst yourselves and feel comfortable with. Because at the end of the day, you want friends that sure, challenge you to a degree that you become a better person, but more importantly, that you can feel at home with and is your family away from home. And then second, I guess weird flex recommendation is make sure that your significant other is your best friend so that you enjoy spending time with them and you don't feel lonely. That was all to say friends are important, but they're not that important. You'll learn more about that as you grow older in your 20s. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Let's go, friends.